Yes, it's an advertisement for a mobile game, but dang does it look good. Dang does this look good. Arknights Prelude to Dawn, of course, is based off of a mobile game, and so my expectations for this series is very, very minimum. But I will say that usually what kind of comes from a lot of these mobile game advertisements is some really beautiful quality and animation just to kind of sell people on the series. And while I only barely dabbled in Arknights, I'm kind of afraid of touching yet another gacha game. I have to say, one of the things that's always a draw for these gacha games is the character designs and the style of it. And I think so far this adaptation is really pulling it off. But this is my thoughts on the first 2 episodes of unfortunately only 8 episodes of Arknights Prelude to Dawn. So let's jump right into it. First off, I'm going to upset a lot of people that play the mobile game because I'm sure there's going to be a lot of information that I'm going to skip over, and that's because I'm going directly of the adaptation. But Arknights Prelude to Dawn opens up with this doctor waking up from some sort of cryosleep. And before her is this girl named Amiya. And Amiya is playing out to her to wake up, and she's sorry that she's got to pull him back out of this again. It seems that she's known this doctor before, and unfortunately she's having to pull him back into the battle that seems to be happening around him. Over time we find out there's this disease called oropathy, and it seems as if this disease was caused by this new resource that was found. Originium something. This originium is something that actually fuels arts and abilities in this world, and is something that has sort of found itself to be a benefit to society in some way. But again, it caused this disease that's really bad. This disease will over time spread throughout your body and crystallize your body, at which point it will shatter and spread this dust around that is actually infectious. And it seems as if this government that runs this area, Ursa's government, used the media to turn everybody against those that are infected. They became the outsiders. They had to be quarantined, and they instilled upon the people this great deep-rooted fear of anybody that has the disease. Which kind of makes sense because if it spreads to you, you get crystallized and you technically die. But this fear pushed the people so far that a lot of the people that were infected by this disease ended up creating these terrorist groups that fight against the people. And they're known as the Reunion. And the Reunion is fighting back against the government, and it doesn't seem like the government's doing much to fight back against them. Either because they don't have the resources to do it, or that they feel that it's going to kind of solve itself. But still, because of the threat of this Reunion, you do have other groups of civilians that are fighting back. And that's comes in this group, Rhodes Island, which Rhodes Island is, yes, comprised of a lot of people that have this disease, but they're fighting back against this Reunion and basically doing the job that the government's failing to do. So you have the opening sequence of this. You have Amiya with this Rhodes Island waking up this doctor from cryosleep and trying to get him out of this facility while being attacked by the Reunion. And what we establish very quickly is the doctor, despite, everything seeming to be good, like his physicals and everything seem to be fine, he's forgotten his past, which is obviously very, very detrimental to them because the doctor apparently was one of their lead scientists that were working on a cure for this disease. And additionally, he's a great commander in battle, and they were kind of hoping that he'd be able to get them out of a really bad situation. Handing him this little phone and saying, please log in so you can command everybody. Please log in. Yes, that's the gacha stuff. We're pushing it out of the way. But yeah, they eventually escape from this facility, and then we get a kind of a clear picture of exactly what's going on in the world itself, which is all the stuff I've covered. But additionally, seeing just how bad the world is outside of this facility. For instance, the Reunion going around and taking out people left and right without any sort of remorse. Adults, and yes, even children. And this is, of course, something that's very, very weighing on Amiya's heart as the current lead of their group. She wants to save everybody, and yes, from the perspective of a lot of people that's working with her, she needs to focus. Putting themselves in danger for everybody is not going to work. So you have a little bit of a struggle of being able to save everybody, or focusing on the mission at hand. You also get quite a bit into the oropathy disease itself and the idea that a lot of people will hide that they have it because they don't want to get quarantined and sent out of society. So you do have a lot of clinics that are kind of hiding the fact that they're treating people. And yes, in some cases, a lot of clinics that will deny helping people and eventually get destroyed by the Reunion. And this all leads into the second episode where they eventually run into pretty much 2 leaders of groups of Reunion, and they have to fight back against them and eventually escape. And getting a lot into the arts, which again is fueled by this new resource. And this all leading to the attack on Rhodes Island group by some person that's able to cast these massive flame balls that destroy everything. So my thoughts on Arknights Prelude to Dawn. First of all, it looks really good. It looks really good. Now, I will say a lot of the backdrops, especially in that first episode, were very plain. And again, we're deep down inside of a facility trying to get out of there. So it's just a lot of blank walls and stuff. What I especially liked about the show so far is just it's very visually pleasing. Yes, for one, the character designs are fantastic. I love all these animal girls. They look fantastic. I mean, especially the medic girl, for some reason, cat girl, I'm sorry. But a really cool selection of different animal girls, and the designs are really fantastic. I like the outfits are great, and that was something that kind of drew me into wanting to play Arknights, but I kind of refused to do that. A lot of the designs are great, a lot of big jackets and stuff. It's got style. It's got a really good style. Again, all the action scenes, while nothing crazy so far, look really good. But what really kind of sells it is just the directing itself, the visual shots, the filters and everything just make it really pop. I love all these really great angles and stuff. Like this beginning sequence is really from the perspective of the doctor who just woke up. So it's a lot of people talking, but he's looking up at them. And I think it's a lot of those kinds of shots have a nice little touch to it that really gets you immersed into the world itself and what's happening. Again, it just looks really, really good, and I love these perspective shots. It kind of goes out of its way to not have a bunch of shots where it's just people's heads and they're talking. It's a lot of changing of angles. Yes, in a lot of cases showing thighs and chests and stuff, but it's showing a lot of angles of the characters themselves as they're debating a situation, rather than it just, again, being just characters' faces and mouth flaps. It's just nailing the atmosphere. And yes, it's a very grim atmosphere, especially when they get to the surface and you see just how destroyed the world is and how much this government is covering up everything happening. The characters themselves, I haven't really gotten too invested in the characters themselves. Yes, there's a lot of focus on Amiya and how much she wants to save everybody. She's obviously got her heart on her sleeve, a lot. And you do have, Doberman's more duty-driven, and yes, unfortunately, a very blank slate main character who is the Doctor. Now, that's probably going to be the thing that's probably going to bug most people, is the idea that, yes, technically the Doctor is probably the main character of the game, thus meaning he has no personality whatsoever. That's going to bug people, but I think it's doing well enough to draw the attention away from this main character. And essentially, Amiya and Ace and Doberman, those are the main characters in the scenario. It's just the Doctor steps up every now and then and gets on his phone and starts... At least he hasn't rolled Gacha yet. At least he hasn't rolled the Gacha yet. But no, he's basically controlling drones and, telling people where to go in order to execute a plan. But again, I think that's something that I thought when I first came into it was going to be a struggle for me, but wasn't something that really bothered me. I think they're doing, again, a really good job of making sure that everybody else is the focus. And the characters around the Doctor are the ones that are always out there speaking and getting things done. The Doctor is just the person that presses the buttons every now and then to tell people where to go. Honestly, the character in the show so far is the world, and I think they're doing a really good job of that. Having these characters in this situation that's really dire. And with the amount of directing and atmosphere they're creating with the story so far, it's doing a really good job. I'm not expecting to have deep backstories for every character. Again, I think the world, the situation here is what the focus is. And I think it's Neural that said specifically that I really appreciated this idea of, I've had somebody that has problem with memories in the past. What you need to focus on is the current and the future. And that's really what the story's doing. Yes, probably eventually they'll go, oh, the Doctor now remembers, and this is the cure, and all that kind of stuff, but it's not really the focus. And that gets me down to probably my biggest fear that I have for the series right now, and that's the fact that, yes, this is a prelude, this is 8 episodes, and yes, this is based off a mobile game. So I don't know that we're going to have any legs here. That's the biggest concern I have. What are you going to cover in 8 episodes? Technically, with 2 episodes, we're a quarter through already. So that makes me really not want to get too invested in the show and not expect too much story-wise to really hit me. Because again, I think we're just going to get involved with the situation, build up to maybe one big fight, and then it's going to conclude. And then they're going to say, please roll the gacha. But I don't think I'm really too bothered by that. Because so far, like I said, it's presented me with a really good style, decent action scenes, and just great directing in the show itself. And yes, to their credit, really make me want to play this game because I like a lot of these character designs. Neural was just like, the moment I see Neural, I'm like, oh my gosh, I really want to play this now. But we'll see. But I will be definitely finishing this show. Again, it's not too much of an investment with only 8 episodes. And again, they're doing a really good job of presenting it. So, and man, that OP is absolutely phenomenal. I think Riona, dang girl, I really loved her work with Shadow House. I really felt like she was getting out of that rut of being stuck in Sword Art Online, and she's really trying new styles here, but the OP of this show is probably going down as one of my favorite of this season, at least the top 3 of my favorite OPs of this season so far. It is just so good. And visually, it's phenomenal. So that's my thoughts on Arknights Prelude to Dawn. Hope you guys enjoyed this video as always. If you did, make sure to hit that like button down below. Comment. Let me know what you thought of the series. You're going to be checking it out. Additionally, if you're new to the channel, make sure to that subscribe button so you get all my content. I do news, reviews, first impressions, top list. If it's anime, it's pretty much here. Additionally, if you want to support the channel more, we have a Patreon link, a tips link, and a super thanks button down below. I greatly appreciate it, but it does. And y'all take care.